So tell us about Seven Wonders.
Oh, well, Seven Wonders is, it's a series that combines three things that I always wanted to do. I started with an idea about kids being isolated on an island, and they don't know why they're there. And my problem was I didn't know why they were there either. And then I began thinking of these other things that I always wanted to write about. One of which was the Seven Wonders of the Ancient World, but I could never think. I mean, I'm not a nonfiction writer, so that was kind of something I threw away. And then I always wanted to write about Atlantis because that legend has always fascinated me. But so many people have done that. I couldn't really think of anything new, I could say. But when I couldn't come up with an idea for my desert island story, I began thinking of all the other things I'd failed to do in my life. And I realized that, sometimes the best ideas come from things that you've always wanted to write about that no one has ever connected. So I came up with this idea about a boy. His name is Jack. He's 13 years old, and he has a condition. He's got a genetic inheritance from a prince who survived the sinking of Atlantis. What he has, this dormant gene, it opens up a strand of your DNA that we all have closed off, which takes whatever we're good at, music, sports, computers, whatever it is, and magnifies it, turns it into a superpower. But in modern times, anyone who's ever had this condition has never lived past the age of 14 because it overwhelms the body. So now Jack is 13, and he wakes up on this island, and there's all these scientists wearing, white coats, and there are three other kids there, each of whom have this condition. And the institute has been set up to study them, and they found out that there's a cure. And if these kids can go and find 7 magical objects that were taken from Atlantis before it sank and hidden centuries ago in the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and they bring these objects, which we call loculi, back to the island, they'll be cured and they'll live long lives. And also, coincidentally, they'll save the world. But the big problem here is that of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, only one of them still exists. It's just the Great Pyramid at Giza is the only one that's still. So that's the central problem that these kids face, and it spins out into a 7-book series that involves, betrayal, 7 books, and there's a rival organization that's after the same thing, and all kinds of double crosses and adventures, and a lot of history and science fiction. It sort of combines fantasy and action-adventure and sci-fi and a lot of really strong relationships, and and we're off and running.
Oh, cool. How long did it take you to write it?
Well, the first book took me about a year and a half.
Okay.
Because of all the table setting and because I had sort of written a kind of a wireframe of the whole series, making sure I knew where it was beginning and where it was going, but not locking myself in too deeply, because as you write, you think of better ideas as you're going along, right?
Right.
So the first book involves, as I was writing the first book, I came up with so many different better ideas for the rest of the series that I kept having to adjust, going to the rest of the books and then going back to book 1 and then the rest of the books and back to book 1 until book 1 actually became coherent and had its own thrust, dramatic thrust, and that took a long time. So the other books, they're being published at 9-month intervals.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, so I'm on a pretty tight schedule with those.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.